tank. He's good at setting traps. Has crazy power that he believes in. He has a great chin too because he's a guy. He'll let you get out punches and he'll still be coming at you. And then once he catches you,
greats. Crawford's one of the best switch hitters I think since Marvin Hagler, and one of the most skillful boxers alive.
Very good skills. He's one of my favorite boxers. He able to win this fight.
Errol Spence was left in awe, openly praising Terence Crawford's extraordinary preparation for the upcoming clash with Canelo. Having once shared the ring with him, Errol recognized firsthand Crawford's elite skill set and brilliant ring IQ. But after witnessing his latest training sessions, even Spence was taken aback by the speed, precision, and flawless footwork on display. Crawford looked like a machine in motion, sharp, explosive, and dialed in with laser focus. This version of Crawford is a relentless threat that Canelo would be wise not to underestimate. When Terence Crawford reflected on his bout with Errol Spence, the mutual respect between the two elite fighters was unmistakable. Known for his calculated, cerebral approach in the ring, Crawford highlighted how he methodically breaks down his opponents over time, setting traps, controlling the pace, and ultimately unleashing punishing flurries with surgical precision.
Spence hit.
He didn't hit that hard.
But he never caught you that clean. That was probably the best shot he landed.
No, he caught me a couple of times, but I was surprised at how hard he didn't hit.
Really?
And given that everybody say, oh, he's a big puncher, he's this. I think he's just a volume puncher. I think he just wears opponents down. Just wear them down. I don't think, he has a one-punch knockout. He have power, but it's not like, boom, sleep. I think it's like, bam, oh, boom, 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 boom. And then he just wear you down.
Right. Yeah. That is a difference, right?
Because if you look at his career, you never seen him like knock nobody out with one punch. You never see him, dropping nobody with one punch. You always see him like wearing them down. That's why he goes so hard to the body, because he want to wear you down. Then once you get tired and once your body start weakening, everything started weakening. And those little punches that wasn't hurting start.
World champion and boxing analyst Chris Algieri offered a pointed comparison between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. In Algieri's view, Crawford has consistently dominated his opponents, maintaining control from start to finish in nearly every fight. Canelo, by contrast, has had moments where he appeared overwhelmed, what insiders refer to as being bossed. A prime example was his loss to Dimitri Bivol, where Bivol's size, sharp jab, and disciplined game plan dictated the tempo of the bout. Algieri's observation reinforces the idea that Crawford, despite moving up in weight, brings a style built on control, adaptability, and technical mastery. These are qualities that have historically posed problems for even the most experienced fighters, including Canelo.
Terence Crawford, who do you think can be the boss that night? When you talk about these two guys, you talk about two guys, number one, you can't boss me around.
Yep.
Two guys, you can't even look at me a certain way without me feeling some type of way. These guys now have set their sights on one another. Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. Obviously, we know the weight difference, but we've seen Crawford looks like he's coming up slowly to that weight class and kind of acclimating himself in real time. How do you see that fight playing out?
We're still pretty far away from that fight, and I'm going to hold my complete analytics on that. But I'll tell you this.
Contrast and compare. Maybe not a pick.
But I'll tell you this. I've seen Canelo pushed around. I've never seen Terence pushed around. So if we're talking about who's going to be the boss, I've never seen anyone boss Terence Crawford. I've seen Canelo get bossed. So that and psychologically, when you think about that, and this is a fight where I flip-flop on both guys because there's so many good points. Yeah, but he's 168. Yeah, but it's Terence Crawford. He's undefeated. Well, yeah, no, this guy's beating this, but stylistic. Even he hits him on the arm. There's so many different things you can talk about. But from a psychological standpoint, who's fresher, who's meaner, who wants it more? That's going to come into play.
As a boxing fan, how much fun is it to see those two attitudes come together. It's kind of like the unstoppable force versus the immovable object getting ready to collide.
I've worked a lot of Canelo fights, and Canelo fight weeks are great. He plays to the crowd really well. His fans are awesome. I'm thinking about the Caleb Plant situation. I'm thinking about the Billy's Joe Saunders situation. When he gets that in his head that he's got an extra chip, he becomes a really dangerous.
Veteran commentator Max Kellerman offered a measured analysis, acknowledging that while both Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez bring distinct advantages to the table, Crawford holds the edge based on recent performances and overall skill set. Kellerman pointed to Crawford's exceptional timing, switch-hitting versatility, and surging knockout power as indicators of a fighter operating at his peak. By contrast, he noted that although Canelo remains a top-tier competitor, there have been signs of decline, particularly in his footwork and offensive intensity. Still, Kellerman emphasized that Canelo's size could play a critical role in close exchanges and physical battles. Yet when evaluating the full spectrum of attributes, speed, precision, defense, and adaptability, Kellerman leaned toward Crawford as the more complete and currently sharper fighter.
Punching. But overall, I have to say Crawford. If you go down the list and ask me about tactical advantages, most of them are Crawford. What Canelo has is size, and as a result, physical strength and punching power. Canelo also has a great chin. But in terms of if you want to go skill for skill, especially the recent version of Canelo, who's had to turn into a seek and destroy guy, who had to learn as his career went on to cut off the ring and not just follow guys around. Like Lara, Trout, Floyd, he followed those guys around. He had trouble because he's really a natural counterpuncher who wants you to come to him. But in recent years at super middleweight, he's gotten really good at cutting off the ring. Again, last fight notwithstanding. So as an overall suite of skills, recent vintage, it's been Crawford. Okay. But Canelo also is skilled and has a larger skeleton than Crawford. No matter what they weigh, Canelo's the bigger guay.
Yeah. You briefly mentioned Canelo's power, so who I would assume Canelo has the
You'd have to think, unless Crawford was on a knockout streak until he moved up to junior middleweight and then failed to stop Madrimov. So, and Canelo, though he has not stopped anyone in a while, we've seen he's a real puncher at 68.
As far as speed, who has the better speed?
You would imagine Crawford, given the fact that he is the naturally smaller.
The dynamics of this mega fight are truly compelling. On one side, Terence Crawford is venturing into uncharted territory by moving up in weight, a move that often comes with trade-offs in speed, stamina, and physical comfort. On the other, while Canelo Alvarez has the experience and pedigree at this level, he's no longer the explosive force of his prime. Recent performances have shown Canelo relying more on calculated control than the relentless pressure and knockout power that once defined him. This shift suggests that while Crawford faces a physical challenge, Canelo's subtle decline in certain areas helps balance the scales. If Crawford brings his trademark footwork, sharp timing, and high ring IQ, there's a clear and realistic path.
Canelo, obviously at 168, he has been a bit of the smaller man at that weight class, and in the last couple of years has had trouble finishing opponents and getting guys out of there like he would have at 160 or 154. So you have a bit of a duality there. Both guys coming into this fight in the, let's say, twilight of their careers, or maybe twilight of their primes, however you want to look at it. Canelo is going to be, I think, 35. Terence is 38. So you have a similar situation, different paths, and different struggles for both fighters. But when you look at who has to do more in this fight, it's clearly Terence Crawford, as far as what he's giving up and sacrificing to win this third undisputed championship and to try to beat Canelo, who has only been beat twice in his career, one of which was Floyd Mayweather being slick and tagging Canelo with counter punches when Canelo missed, being the smaller, lighter fighter and up there in age that was still able to take advantage of the youth and experience of Canelo Alvarez, but also just being a defensive maestro and able to counter off of that. Floyd is one of one. And then you have Dimitri Bivol, who was the bigger fighter, and the things that Canelo does very well didn't really hurt him too bad, right? The things that had carried Canelo up in division was his power and the ability to break an opponent down, maybe not stopping them in the early to mid part of fight.
Rising boxing prospect Abdullah Mason voiced strong confidence in Terence Crawford, boldly predicting not just a win, but one that will shock many fans. Mason highlighted that Crawford's power, often underrated, has the potential to surprise the world. While the prevailing narrative has framed Canelo as the stronger fighter due to his size, Mason flipped that assumption, arguing that Crawford's ability to generate power through timing, angles, and surgical precision could prove even more devastating. If Crawford can land clean, especially in the later rounds, Mason's prediction might very well come true.
In Dubai, maybe a month ago, I saw him. He's big, and he has very good skills. He's one of my favorite boxers. He able to win this fight, but there is a lot of but, and even not but. There is a lot of things, small things, which we don't know how he will deal with this. He need to get used to the power and pressure of 168 because it's big difference, to be honest. Maybe he will get used to it, and how he will be feeling himself at the same day when he will fighting, how his training camp will go on, a lot of things. But he's able. He has good skills. He's awkward. He can use two boxing stance. It gives him benefits, of course.
I was at that same event in Dubai just before Christmas, and I saw him too, and I thought exactly the same thing, which is that he is quite big.
Yeah.
Size obviously is important. Jamel Charlo stepped up from super welterweight to super middleweight to box Canelo, and it didn't work at all for him. But Crawford is